Welcome back to another edition of Tig's Bits. On this episode, I have my good friend JD Marsh on to discuss Texas music. We have a really good discussion about many different Texas artists such as Shiny Ribs, Pat Green, Turnpike Troubadours, Whiskey Myers, Cody Jinks, and a few I've never even heard of. I first met JD a few years ago at the Golden Nugget in Lake Charles, and we've just been really good friends ever since. I was sitting at the Cadillac bar, sitting actually at the bar, grabbing a little supper one night, and I met his lovely wife, Amber. She was waiting on him to come in from work. He was driving over something. She had already beat him there, and we ordered some chips. Well, let me correct that. I ordered some chips because as we were talking, she was outraged that the place made you buy chips. I mean, most Tex-Mex restaurants just give you chips. No, not that place. So out of principle, she just straight up wasn't going to buy any. Just wasn't going to buy chips. And I said, look, I really want some chips and queso. So I'm going to buy them. I'm going to buy them. You can have some. So she did. And we waited on JD to get there. She told me, you're absolutely going to love my husband. You've got to stick around. You got to wait for him to get here. You're really going to like him. She was right. As soon as he got there, I mean, the three of us we just hit it off, and we all really we just became very, very good friends real quick. It was pretty obvious that they were cool people. They're music nuts, just like my wife and me. They love to go to concerts, eat good food, and just have fun. So, I mean, what is not to like about that? JD's given me so many good music recommendations over the years, especially in what I guess you could label as alt country. I just call it good music. I want you to make sure that you tune in again next week. He and I dive into some Texas barbecue, his award-winning competition team, his partnership with Alex Bregman and the Breggy Bomb brand, and much, much more. It's a great one. I honestly think we could have talked barbecue and music for 2 straight days. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. So without any further ado, Mr. J.D. Marsh, welcome to Tig's Bits, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here. Y'all all have to excuse my Aggie sign in the back there. I didn't realize I was sitting in the spot.
Well, fortunately, this isn't on video, so no one will see that extremely disturbing and ugly Texas A&M Aggies sign behind you. So we can move past it. You ignore my LSU hat, and we'll just call it even. Yeah, we can get past this. Well, I'll tell you, before the last hour, getting kind of prepped for the show, getting in the right mindset, I had my Spotify playlist playing, jamming some Shiny Ribs, because you're the one who introduced me to those guys.
Yep.
And you told me you need to check them out, so I did, and I went, dang, these guys are freaking awesome. Who else you got? You've sent me several over the years. But
I know. I remember. I think I saw Shiny Ribs was playing in Baton Rouge. It's some little. I don't even remember where it was. You can tell me where it was.
The Red Dragon.
There you go. And I remember I told you, I said, man, these guys are playing in Baton Rouge. You need to go check them out. And everyone I've ever told that to says, what the hell is Shiny Ribs? What kind of music is it? If you haven't seen it, you can't explain it.
No.
It's a little country. It's a little funk. It's a little blues. I don't know what it is, but it's damn good, whatever it is.
I know that. And
a showman, a live show in a small venue like you've never seen.
Oh man. So I got to see them at the Red Dragon here in Baton Rouge, and this place holds, man, I think it's less than 75 people, less than 100, we'll say, but I think it's more like 50. I mean, It's a small room. There are couches and chairs, and it's worked out. The guy who runs it here is phenomenal. He's awesome, and he brings a lot of singer-songwriters that kind of, alt country type thing, whatever
Yep.
label you want to put on it. Mainly singer-songwriters, though. And the folks that this place here in Baton Rouge brings in, they bring in some amazing acts. They really do. Just some phenomenal guys. They don't get enough love. You know how that goes.
So we're lucky here in the Houston area where I live. I live about, I don't know, 60 miles west of downtown Houston. We're lucky in this whole area, the whole state of Texas for that matter. And it pours into Louisiana and Oklahoma as well. But
right,
we're lucky that, man, there's such support for those local Texas red dirt, whatever you want to call them, homegrown guys that are just singer-songwriters and better than any of the crap you're going to hear on the radio.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening and kind of my jams. It just randomly played a guy tonight I'd never heard, Sam Morrow. I don't know if you even know him.
I don't know that.
Somehow or another, it went from Kevin Russell's Shiny Ribs straight to this guy. Dude, it was the most badass song I've heard in a long time. It had a Waylon feel to it and all of this. And Quick Fix by Sam Morrow. He reminds me of Shooter Jennings in a way. He has that kind of California sound that's rooted in outlaw country. I mean, I don't like putting labels on stuff.
I agree.
The Bakersfield sound with an outlaw edge.
Yep.
I think that's the best way to sum it up. So let me ask you, what are some bands these days? Of course, we love Shiny Ribs. Who are some folks that you're into that we need to listen to?
I'll go into this. I'll start here. I'm sitting in my man cave upstairs. We got a lot of sports memorabilia, music memorabilia, stuff like that. I've got 4 posters hanging above my pool table. My 4 favorite singer-songwriters of all time. I got Shiny Ribs. I got Robert Earl Keen. I got Jerry Jeff Walker and Guy Clark. Guy Clark's my number 1 all-time singer-songwriter. Hands down, not even close. I think that started when I was probably 16. I discovered Guy Clark, and I'm 41 now. I discovered Guy Clark when I was about 16, and just all I'd heard up to that point in my life was what's on the radio, on the Nashville country radio. George Strait, Garth Brooks, which, hey, I love both of those guys.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You get into a Guy Clark, and that's something totally different. And, that I started there, and that moved me into Jerry Jeff Walker. From Jerry Jeff Walker went to Gary P. Nunn. And then about that time, about when I was a senior in high school, I guess, is when the Texas music scene really started blowing up. That's when Pat Green was blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
Corey Moore was blowing up. Shortly after was Charlie Robinson and Jack Ingram and all those guys. And, man, I was hooked. I went to shows every weekend. And I have not listened to any Nashville country radio since then in 20-plus years.
You ain't missed much.
No. We'll be somewhere and someone come on the radio and I'll like, come on at a bar or something. Man, I've never heard that. And everybody's like, have you never heard that? Like, I don't listen to it. I don't know.
No, the only reason I have an exposure to all of that is because of my daughter, and yes, I will admit that I've seen Luke Bryan 4 times, whatever.
So have I. I've seen him at the Houston Rodeo a number of times.
I like him. I'm not going to lie. Controversial take. I don't necessarily think a live Luke Bryan show sucks. I think it's actually kind of fun.
I was going to say.
He hooked me with Metallica. The first time I saw him, he had just come out with Country Girl, Shake It For Me.
Wow.
The song before his encore was Enter Sandman by Metallica, and I went, well, I wasn't expecting this, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, I've seen him numerous times. Every Nashville artist that I've seen in concert in the last 20 years has been either at the Houston Rodeo or the San Antonio Rodeo.
Sure.
That's the only time I ever see it.
Yeah.
But we're at concerts very regularly to see other folks.
Yeah.
We enjoy
well, I don't want to say not a real musician because I think it's a little bit of a knock.
They're musicians.
Absolutely. Luke Bryan's absolutely a musician.
And like I said, he's a hell of a showman.
He is. He knows how to work a crowd. Everybody loves him. He's just a good old boy. But look, I can't hate on him for if Nashville wanted to plug him in and he got to go make millions doing that, I'd have done it too. I think most of them would.
I hear he's a great guy. I know people that have hunted with him and whatnot. And they say he's an awesome guy to hang out with. So I got nothing against him. I just don't particularly care for his music.
No, I don't care for his sound.
No, me neither.
That I don't. You know what? At the end of the day, he probably don't either. But he gets paid a lot for it, and he would rather dig in the trenches and grind it out and be with the fine folks like Shiny Ribs. Like, dude, that guy, what a showman!
What a showman, no doubt about that. He wears a suit and tie every show, sweating his ass off, dancing like a madman. He's like James Brown dancing up there.
He is.
It's insane. But you would think, what is this guy on? You talk to him before a show, you talk to him after a show. He played in my backyard for my 40th birthday 2 years ago. He is the nicest, down-to-earth, most level-headed, normal guy you could ever meet. But then he gets on stage and flips a switch, and he's a madman.
Dude, he goes crazy.
He does.
It's amazing. It's like a well-oiled machine, like an athlete. It's like Jordan.
It is.
Just chilling in the locker room and then going out and dropping 50 on you. I mean, dude, it's insane. It really is. That dude's amazing.
He can sure move for a fat boy.
He can. Dude's got some moves.
Yep. He's a southeast Texas boy from over there and around Orange or Beaumont, somewhere around over there.
Is that where he's from? I didn't know.
I think Sour Lake maybe actually. But yeah, over in that Golden Triangle area somewhere.
Well, he has a fondness for Louisiana in his songs.
100%.
And so I know he obviously has some family in Louisiana because he spent time over here. And of course, that would make sense living, growing up around Orange and
That's right.
Lake Charles. It's one of the first song you told me I needed to listen to.
Take Me to Lake Charles.
Yes, that's what you said. You said start there, and I did, and then I went, oh, these guys are awesome. I love it.
So to circle back, you asked who are some of my guys now that I'm listening to. The big one for me the past 10 years has been Turnpike. Turnpike Troubadour is just, man, something about those guys. Evan Feltner is a hell of a songwriter. I relate a lot to his songs. Love everything about it. And I was, they went through their troubles here the last few years, but having some problems. They had to break up. We didn't know if they'd ever get back together again.
Right.
And man, when they came back together, we went about a month ago, I guess. We went and saw them at Red Rocks. And, whew, man, unbelievable venue, unbelievable show. Everything about it just unbelievable.
Was that your first time at Red Rocks?
It was. Have you been there?
I have. I've been there twice.
Whew.
How amazing is that place, huh?
Unbelievable. We went with two other couples and we made a pact. We said, hey, we don't care who it is. Once a year, we're coming back here to watch a show. We'll find somebody we want to see and we're going to come watch it. After being there, there's no better place. I don't know how it can get any better.
There is no better place. I did my concert top 10 and all of that. And I thought about breaking it down into a concert venue top 10. I'm like, well, there's only one, and it's really not even worth discussing the other 9, frankly.
I agree. That just shot to number 1 and not even close in my book.
It ain't even close, is it?
No.
The sound that's in that place. Every little note from a guitar, every little note that's sung, like everything, there's no echo.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Like the reverb is just perfect, but it doesn't go far and it vibrates through you. I don't.
And you're sitting on top of this mountain looking down behind the stage into this valley and these huge lit up rocks on both sides. Just the whole atmosphere is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
There's Denver down there in the corner off to your right. It's just, yeah, dude, it gives me chill bumps just thinking about the place because it's just so incredible.
That was awesome. And so probably the past 10 years, Turnpike has been my favorite band going. Another one, last probably 5 years, is going to be the Reed Southall Band out of Oklahoma. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I'm not at all. Never even heard of them.
Those guys, they're out of Oklahoma, and their first album was called Six String Sorrow, and it's just an acoustic album that sounds like it was recorded in somebody's garage. And it may have been, I don't know. But it is an awesome album, awesome songwriting, And since then, their albums that have come out since then, I wouldn't even call them country. I think they're more Southern rock, kind of a Skynyrd kind of band.
Okay.
Kind of a these days a Whiskey Myers type band. You know, something along those lines. It's definitely heavier than country, but still has a country underlying to it. So yeah, they're badass. We went, I think 3 weeks ago, we went and saw Cody Jinks here at the Woodlands. He was unbelievable.
I like Cody Jinks, man. I really that guy's been popping up a lot for me lately. I don't know his catalog deep by any means, but that guy's voice
Unbelievable.
blows me away.
You know, he started out in a metal band back in the day in Dallas. But we were lucky enough, we got to go, it was me and Amber and the kids went to that show. We were lucky enough to get to go backstage and go on Cody's bus and meet all them and whatnot. Just the nicest guy. Him, his bandmates, his tour manager, everybody, just the nicest people you could ever meet, and puts on a hell of a show. And then opening for him at that show was Lucas Nelson, Willie Nelson's son.
Oh yeah, dude. Look, I've been jamming Lucas for a while.
Dude, that's the first time I'd seen him. That's the first time I'd seen him live. That guy was unreal live. He brought the house down live. He was so good. And he's for people that don't know him, he sounds a lot like his dad, but not.
He does.
He does, but he doesn't. You know, you hear it. You can hear it in the voice, but it's a totally different kind of music. He's got a very bluesy, soulful type of music to him. I don't know if you're familiar at all with the Teskey Brothers out of Australia.
No.
Check them out. They're awesome. Okay. He reminded me a lot of them. They're very bluesy. And he reminded me a lot of those guys.
What I love about him is just the way he harmonizes a guitar with his vocals.
Yeah. Oh, he was great.
It's a trick he got from his dad, but it works. It absolutely works, man. It's fantastic. I've not seen him live, but is it still Lucas Nelson and The Promise of the Real or whatever? Is that still the name of his band?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but something along those lines.
It was his very first album, and I don't remember the name of the song, but I heard it like randomly playing on Spotify. Like, I'd played a song and then it just started doing its thing or whatever. It's so soulful and bluesy. You're right.
I think if you want to hear, in my book, if you want to hear the quintessential Lucas Nelson, go check out Find Yourself. That song is phenomenal. And that kind of brings in all the bluesiness and whatnot. I think that's awesome.
It was 2010, dude. That's whenever the first album that I listened to of him. It's Polygap. And Hey Baby.
Hey Baby. I know that. Yep. I know that one.
That's the one that blew my freaking mind, man. And he definitely has that. I mean this rude. He has that nasally sound, that Willie's got.
Maybe not quite as much, but it's definitely there. You can hear him and know he's Willie Nelson's son.
Absolutely, the signature is there.
100%.
The signature is there, but it's done just right. And look, dude, you got to think Willie Nelson's son kicks ass, and so does Waylon Jennings' son. I've always loved Shooter.
100%.
I think whenever that album first came out, his first album, and Gone to Carolina, I think it was, or that song I think was on there. Maybe that was his second album.
Is that the album, the one with 4th of July?
Yeah, that one.
That was a good album.
Waylon is my favorite country dude, outlaw, whatever you want to call him, whatever label you want to give him. Waylon's always been my favorite.
Right.
I love his guitar. I love I love the reverb in it. And then to hear his son come out, who doesn't really do anything like his dad at all.
Nope.
But kicks ass in his own way. Incredible, man.
Another guy I've been listening to a lot that is, man, this guy, he's out there. I think he's got a lot of that outlaw in him. He's got an amazing voice. He's got some wild ass songs. It's Paul Cawthon. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all.
No, I'm not.
You got to check this dude out. When you check this dude out, you got to go on YouTube. Don't just listen to his music. Go on YouTube and watch his videos.
Okay.
This guy is wild. He's out of the Tyler area, and he's got some wild music and a big booming voice, and just He's something else, man. He's a wild dude.
Give me his name again one more time.
Paul Cauthen, Cauthen.
Speaking of up there and around the Tyler area, of course, Whiskey Myers.
I love Whiskey Myers. They're awesome. We're actually going to, we just bought tickets to go see them. Who is it? Them and Shane Smith and the Saints are playing together October the 2nd at the Woodlands, just north of Houston.
Oh, nice.
So pumped about that one. Those guys are awesome. Funny stories. Speaking of Tyler, I was up in the Tyler area in early February, late January, picking up a new barbecue pit that we had built.
Okay.
And stopped in this little bar there in Tyler. I was staying in a hotel there for the night, and I stopped in this bar to have some beers. And the guitar player for Whiskey Myers was sitting right next to me at the bar. And if anybody's ever seen this dude, you can't mistake him. I knew exactly who he was when he sat down. And so we sat there and bullshitted all night. Hell of a nice guy. I think that was like a Wednesday night or something. I think there wasn't 5 people in that whole bar, and he came and sat down right next to me. There's so much good music out there. So much good music out there right now. You know, I mentioned my 4 favorites when we started talking about the music, and this year Robert O'Keefe is supposedly hanging it up after this year.
That's what I heard.
He's on his farewell tour, and he's playing for a week in August, playing a bunch of great venues here in Texas. He's playing Green Hall. He's playing, I think, Billy Bob's. And then closing it out at Fleurs Country Store, his last concert. And Fleurs Country Store is where he recorded his Live Diner #2 album back in the mid-'90s.
Okay.
Which has got to be his biggest album ever.
Oh, yeah. That's where I got introduced to Pat Green.
That's where everybody got introduced.
Yeah, that's where it's like, oh, who's this guy? Okay, I like him.
I'm a big music buff, and I'm like you. My musical taste, my favorites are, like I said, the old country, the outlaw country. I'm a huge, going back to like Gary Stewart. I love Gary Stewart.
Oh, yes.
Old guy, I said Guy Clark already. Guys like that. I love that old music. Even Willie Nelson, I love that. Waylon Jennings, I love that. And then I love 80s and 90s country music. I grew up listening to Alabama and George Strait and those kind of folks. And then in the 90s, man, there was kick-ass music in the 90s.
Oh, hell yeah.
Then I feel like it all went wrong after that.
Really did, didn't it? It just died.
It did. I don't know what happened, but there's plenty of good music out there if you go looking for, whether, the guys I've already mentioned. There's Tyler Childers. He's a badass. Sturgill Simpson's a badass. There's so much great music out there that's just underappreciated by the Nashville machine. And I think they're going to have to wake up to it, just like Willie and Waylon and those guys did back in the early 70s, starting the outlaw movement. They all moved to Austin and started doing their own thing. And Nashville had to take notice because it started putting a dent in their bottom line. And I think the same thing I think that's happening again right now. And especially the way radio doesn't matter as much. Obviously, CD sales don't matter at all.
No.
Everything is streamed and YouTube and hell, there's guys, look at that Zach Bryan guy. Is that Zach Bryan? Yeah. So he started just putting out videos of him sitting around a campfire singing songs. And now he's one of the biggest damn acts going right now. He just put out a 34-song album.
Wow.
And he's blowing up. He's got some great songs, but guys don't have to take the same path like they used to and deal with that music machine. And I think Nashville's going to have to take notice of that.
I agree 100%. I mean, how can they not? They played the same thing for 15 years in Nashville. It's
every
the same 7 songs.
I think it was probably a year ago. We were on a road trip somewhere out in the middle of nowhere where we didn't get any good radio stations. And it was on a Sunday afternoon. They had the country top 20 or whatever the hell it is on Sunday afternoons. And we were listening. It was like the top 5 songs, and they all sounded exactly the same.
They're exactly the same, man.
Another guy that's coming up and actually is making a lot of headway and a lot of noise in Nashville is Cody Johnson.
Yeah.
And he's the real deal.
Yeah.
I know him personally a little bit. He's a hell of a good dude. And man, he puts on one of the best shows you've ever seen. He's Garth Brooks 2.0 in concert. He puts on a show.
The fam and we all saw Garth Brooks here in Tiger Stadium. I've seen Garth Brooks before, and it was incredible and loved it. This was whenever he first came back 5 years ago or whatever, 2017, 16, whatever. To hear him play Call in Baton Rouge in Tiger Stadium, I mean, Come on.
I was about to say, I've seen videos, but I know videos can't do it justice. I bet that was just blow the. There's no roof on the place, but blow the roof off the place.
If there was, it would have been blown off. I promise you, that place went nuts.
I can't imagine how wild that was. Yeah, I can imagine.
It was freaking amazing. And when we left the stadium, my ears were ringing. And it wasn't because the music was loud. I mean, it was great. I've seen a lot of people. Dierks Bentley is the loudest person that I've seen in there. It was all on the same night. He pushed those speakers to the limits. It got a little distorted, but it was still awesome. He puts on a great show too.
I've seen him several times. Yeah,
he's awesome, but it wasn't that loud. It wasn't any that it was perfect. It was loud enough. It wasn't overly loud. It was just right. But when he did call in Baton Rouge, that's the loudest I think I've ever heard Tiger Stadium. No game. I don't think any game even matched how loud that play. It went crazy, dude. It went.
I can imagine.
I'm getting chill bumps again, dude. It just went nuts.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm not an LSU guy. We're Aggies in this house, but I got no problem with LSU. You'll be able to tell me better. What year did LSU beat OU in the national championship? 2002?
It was the 2003 season, and they played in 2004 in January is when they played Oklahoma.
So me and a bunch of dudes, I was living in Dallas at the time, me and a bunch of dudes loaded up an RV and drove to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl that year, just on a whim, and parked in the parking lot down by the Superdome for 3 or 4 days. Hell, I don't know how long we're there. Had a time of our lives. And man, I remember being at the Cat's Meow on Bourbon Street, the karaoke bar, and packed. It's packed. This is on game day. It was a night game, national championship, game day, packed bar. You know, they're doing the Bourbon Street thing. You go up there, order 1 beer, they give you 3, whatever it is. Everybody's hammered at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I think about every other song somebody sang was called Baton Rouge that day at the Cat's Meow. And the place was just going nuts every single time.
I totally believe it. Totally believe it. Yeah, that was a fun one because nobody gave us a chance in hell of beating Oklahoma that day to begin with.
And there's no team I'd rather see lose more than Oklahoma.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Us too. So it was so much fun. And then it was fun to play them again in 2019 and just absolutely skull drag them. Well, that's as good of a stopping point as any. Anytime you can find a way to work in that 2019 national champion LSU Tiger football team, it's just a good stopping point. It really is. I mean, you can't beat the best. Tune in again next week. JD and I continue this conversation and we dive into competition barbecue, rubs, sauces, Breggy Bomb, lots of different things. It is a fantastic episode, just like this one was. Appreciate you listening. Hope you guys have a great week and look forward to seeing you again next week.